Welcome to another episode of Crawfordsville Connection, the City of Crawfordsville's weekly podcast that comes out every Monday morning. I'm your host, Sarah Summer, and I'm joined in the studio every week with Mayor Todd Barton to keep our community up to date on current events, city workings, and to hear from community members on a variety of topics. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Welcome back to another episode of Crawfordsville Connection. I'm your host, Sarah Summer, and today I'm joined in the studio by Mayor Todd Barton.
Hello.
Hello. And Mayor, you're off the hot seat today. We've got Tom Klein here from the county, and he's going to do a general update.
I'm just along for the ride.
Yes.
I'll throw in 2 cents here and there.
Yeah.
How's that?
Every once in a while. Well, Tom, thanks for joining us.
Sure. Thanks for having us again. We appreciate this opportunity to give an update on what's going on in the county.
Of course. Before we get started, Mayor, do you have any announcements?
I actually do. We want to remind people that due to the Memorial Day holiday, city offices will be closed on May 26th, and we will do a double trash pickup on Tuesday, May 27th. So people usually remember Memorial Day.
Yes.
But and there will be Memorial Day services that day. We'll probably push that out next episode and talk about that more specifically because that's tied in with Veterans Park this year. So
yes.
We'll talk about that. And then also want to remind people that the annual police memorial service will be held on Wednesday, May 14th at the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, and it will be at 3 p.m. this year. That is a change. It's been, I think, 5 p.m. the last few years. So 3 p.m. on Wednesday, May 14th, and hope everyone can attend.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, Tom, we will go ahead and kick it over to you and just jump right in with talking about our local funding issues as a result of Senate Bill 1. We've talked a lot about this on the city side, so we'd love to hear your take on it in terms of how it's affecting the county.
Yeah, we've been trying to keep an eye on this bill as well. As you know, this is a bill that the state passed that impacts our property taxes and our levies. So we're still not really sure the actual impact. I think the numbers that the state developed are not accurate. And so we're trying to figure that out. The numbers that the state showed that we would be losing about $3 million over 3 years. So we are trying to figure that out. We do have our financial consultant who's going to present an update to our county financial plan at Tuesday's council meeting, so folks can watch that on our YouTube channel. But we may actually have to hire someone to do a parcel by parcel analysis, which is the only way to really see what's going on. So a lot of uncertainty on our funding for local government. And as most people know, that the property taxes pay for a lot of services in the county, including our court system and our emergency management, our county government center operations, pays for bridge maintenance. So there's a lot of things that we need to keep an eye on. But also we've noticed that some of the grants that we've been receiving have been reduced or are being eliminated. I was informed by our emergency management director that we used to have a tornado siren grant to replace sirens. That's been removed. The courts have informed me that their problem-solving grants that they use for their problem-solving courts to help people get off drugs or addictions is being either reduced or eliminated. Our probation department, as most people know, is funded with a lot of grants. Those are up and are being questioned now as well. And I know the health department had an immunization grant, and that's been eliminated as well. So we're losing some grants that will impact some of our services that we provide.
Sounds similar, huh, Mayor?
Yeah, that sounds very much like our update.
Yes.
It's still amazing to me. I mean, our financial consultants are still trying to figure this out, but the people who voted on it fully understood it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge with the uncertainty, and we won't know the impact for 2 or 3 years. Our financial consultant is saying, and some of these changes don't happen till a couple of years later. Yeah. So it's really going to be a tough time.
And people won't notice some of those changes in services for a few years, but you're not going to notice it tomorrow. You're not going to notice it January, but 2 or 3 years down the road, it's going to be noticeable if it's not fixed. So, the reality is the reality, right? It costs X amount to do things, and I think I used this example last time, but it's not as simple as just holding things flat. We do that, and we try to be more efficient all the time. But I used the example of a fire truck that a few years ago cost $330,000 and now costs $880,000.
Oh my goodness!
And that's in the course of 7 or 8 years. That's the difference. So it's pretty hard to hold that line when the world around us, we have all these issues, and we're a consumer of goods and services just like anybody else.
Right.
Yeah, we find that too. Our costs are going up above inflation. And so even if we try to hold the line, it's really hard. And we're like the city. We try to be as efficient as possible. We're not hiring new staff or anything. And so we're just providing basic services to our residents and our businesses. So it's going to be interesting. And our health department is one of the ones that is impacted. And I think we've mentioned this before, that a couple of years ago, the state started providing funding to health departments. They provided $150 million to local health departments to do different services. And we were just informed that it's been reduced by $110 million. So $40 million will be the new number distributed to our health departments across the state. We're not sure of that impact on us. We know that in 2025, our health department received $827,000. And I did ask our health director the type of services that they were providing with that money. And so she gave me a list. She talked about mobile integrated health, paying for a community paramedic social worker, partially funding the salary of the drug-free Montgomery County coordinator, collaborating with the Montgomery County Free Clinic regarding women's health, STI screenings, and immunizations. They launched a tobacco cessation program, which we've been informed is being eliminated by the state. They expanded screening for hepatitis C, HIV, syphilis, gonorrhea, and chlamydia. And they also increased the number of the immunization clinics, and they also trained staff on CPR and stop the bleed. So those things may be reduced because of the reduction in funding. She did also say, here's a couple of things she knows, that the AmeriCorps program that had people coming and students helping at health departments is being terminated, and that all communicable disease investigations have been returned to the local health departments. And they were planning to do a water safety awareness campaign, but that might be in jeopardy as well.
Yeah.
Lots of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Another
Yeah,
fun
good news
episode,
today.
right?
Yeah.
And I'll say, the funding for the quick response team that the health department had received from the state and was shifting over to our mobile integrated health. I mean, that's really important because that was paying for one person to help, with that quick response team. So,
right.
Helping people who are dealing with substance abuse, addiction, mental health issues. I mean, there's a lot of that you have to deal with. And, we have a team in place, and we still have a team in place, but this is a pretty significant hit to our ability to really be out there and help people meet them where they are and navigate them into the proper treatment pathway.
Right.
So,
and that program is preventive, right? By doing those things, we're
it's
preventing costs in the
it
future,
is.
which we're going to see possible new costs in the future because of this.
Yeah, we see that a lot of times, and I often say government can be penny wise and pound foolish. We're going to save a penny over here, and it ends up costing us $20 on the other side. But that's exactly what we see going on here. But that program's still there, but we just actually met to kind of talk through how we adjust to some of these things.
Yeah. We joke that it's not fun topics, but this is why it's important to talk about it. So, we can stay transparent. So,
and I'll say I've had a few people approach me who've listened to the podcast and thanked us for being transparent and open and upfront about this. And I think it just shows, I think you said it, we're going to deal with the exciting, fun stuff, but we're also going to be brutally honest about the things that are challenging. And this is a big challenge for us.
Yeah. We can't sugarcoat the information. I think it's important for us to share the whole story.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time. We have a story to share, and we want our community to know what's going on. That's going great. But they also need to know the downfalls and what we're struggling with as well.
Yeah, we're in a difficult spot because we're a growing community. I mean, we've spent years building it and getting ready, and now we're ready to go. And now we have a curveball thrown our way.
Yes.
That's okay. We'll deal with the curveball.
Yes.
And we'll hit it back to somebody.
Yeah.
Left field,
Someone.
right?
Yeah.
Left field. That's
Left
what I
field,
meant.
maybe.
Left field. Center field. I don't know. We'll hit it somewhere.
Okay. Well, Tom, do you want to talk a little bit about assessment notices? Those went out last week.
Yes. So another exciting topic that gets people happy.
Yeah.
Our assessor has been dealing with people coming into the office and such. But yes, the assessments, she reminded me, these are proposed assessments for taxes in 2026. The proposed values have been sent out. If you want to appeal your assessment, the deadline is June 16th, and you can call the assessor's office at 6420 to do that. And I did talk to Sherry Bentley, who's our assessor today, and she talked about how they do assessment. They use comparable sales from 2024 on a mass scale. So they don't do it individually. And so she said, if you want an individual comparable sales analysis, you need to appeal your assessment. So she encourages people to give her a call and she can work on that. And so that's done every year. And so it comes out right around the time when everyone's paying taxes as well. And that gets a little confusing too. And she also mentions that there's a piece in the form that says structures and improvements. And it gets a lot of people confused because they think improvements is a verb saying I didn't make any improvements. And she says that's a noun. It means just the improvement of your land. And apparently that's in the Constitution. So that can't be changed because it says improvements. So it has to be on the form like that. But again, if you want to appeal your assessment, it's 364-6420.
And that's the amount on which you're taxed, right? So we talk about the tax rate a lot, so as we've said, tax rate could stay stable, but if your assessed value goes up, then you're going to pay more based on that. And there's a complicated formula. It's not pure math, of course. Right. I mean, it's a complicated formula where you get the deductions in there and all this stuff happens and everything. I've noticed in the last few days since it's gone out, massive amounts of confusion and misinformation on social media. Wow. I mean, very much so. And we did an entire episode. We should probably put that in the show notes. Sherry came in and we did a whole episode on how she calculates those numbers. I got mine. Mine went up. And I think your first reaction is like, oh, it went up. But then I reminded myself of what I tell everybody else when they come to me with that. I think you have to ask yourself the question, and that is, could I sell it for that?
Right.
Because we have a system based on market value. And that's what the people of Indiana wanted years ago. They wanted this market value based system. And that's what we have now. And so when you get it, ask yourself. And I asked myself that question. I thought, well, yeah, I could sell it for that. Hopefully I could sell it for more than that. So there you go. Right. I don't know that I could, but I would hope I would try anyway. But so that's the question you have to ask yourself. When you get that assessment, do you think that's accurate? Could I sell it for that? If you think you could, then she's probably on. If you say, no, I don't think I could, honestly, then you need to appeal. Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly what she said too. She said, if you think you can sell it, or you can go on Zillow, you can go different places to see what other properties sell around you. And if you don't think that's right, then call her and she's willing to help.
Every once in a while, just for fun, I see people who complain about their assessed value, but then have their property listed for a whole lot more than that.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to name names, folks, but I know who they are. But there's one particular person in town I know every year they're going to complain. And then I go and look and they have their house for sale for a lot more than that assessed value. I'm like, now for sale and sold are two different things. I totally understand that, but they think it's worth more than that. So
absolutely.
But it is tough and we understand that. But if you don't think it's accurate, then go through the appeal process.
Okay. And council discussion on road funding.
Yeah, another fund issue. Of course, it's springtime, so potholes are out, and we get a lot of comments about road work and such, and road funding. Which is we use gas tax to fund our road maintenance. We have 500 miles of paved roads and 300 miles of gravel roads, and so the council asked our highway director Jake Lowe to discuss the wheel tax revenue that also helps pay for road maintenance and the impact on his operations at Tuesday's council meeting. So he will be doing that at that day. Right now, we're at about 80% of the maximum for the wheel tax that we can assess. And so there may be discussion about that. But if you want to attend the meeting, it is in the Government Center at 1580 Constitution Row in the community meeting room at 9 a.m. Or you can just go to our government YouTube channel. If you just look up Montgomery County, Indiana Government, you can find our YouTube channel.
Okay. And the housing program, we've talked a lot about the growth in our community, and that's city and county wide. Do you want to talk a little bit about that housing program that you're working through?
Yes, we're working with the city and a group called Thrive West Central on this housing program where there would be a process where people could apply to receive a certain percentage of their infrastructure in a grant to assist them in developing housing. And there are many different avenues we'll have. There'll be a second floor downtown program, small development program, larger program, rehabilitation program. We're still working through all the details, and the funding would be through a grant from the state. You've heard us mention the Ready 2.0 program. And we did apply for a $1.1 million grant that could be used for the housing program. And that should be available hopefully in the summer. So we're trying to finalize the details on that. So you may hear more on that. We also have a home rehabilitation grant that we received from the state, $400,000. And these are for income eligible homes for rehabilitation, such as fixing roofs or the HVAC systems and such. And we're working through Thrive West Central again, which is a not-for-profit organization to manage that. And if you just look up Thrive West Central, you can go to their website and there's more information on how to apply for that grant. But we've already had 3 bids come through to do some rehab. I think we're actually going to reject those bids and redo it. But we have local contractors that are qualified to do work. And so that is another option for people, especially the income eligible people that have like a home that needs some additional help. That home rehab program is a really good program.
Great. And if people have driven downtown recently, I'm sure they have seen the ongoing projects at the courthouse. But do you want to talk about what exactly is happening there? I think there's been a lot of question of what on earth is going on here.
Sure. So our courthouse is over 150 years old, I believe. So of course it always needs maintenance and such. And the last time it had some significant remodeling was back in 1986 or 87. So in reviewing the courthouse, we did an assessment to see what needs to happen to our building to make sure it's lasts another 100 years or more. And so we identified a lot of work that needs to happen on the outside. So folks have probably noticed that the roof has been removed. So that was the original roof. It's old slate. So we have removed that. We'll replace that with fake slate, which will last, which will be lighter. We can walk on it and maintain it and such. And so that's an important part. But also we're doing a lot of exterior work to repair the brick and mortar, make sure there isn't any cracking and such. And so we're working on a lot of that. There'll be some painting as well on the exterior. And then in the interior, we are moving the clerk's office down to the first floor where the auditor's office and the council meeting room used to be. So those are combined into one office. That area is ready to go, except we need to get the phones set up. And then once the phones are ready to go, then we can move the clerk down to the first floor. And once the clerk moves down to the first floor, then the prosecutor will expand into the old clerk's area. And if you go inside now in the courthouse, you'll see that the first floor has been painted. We have some new detailing on the walls. And then the basement floor a new floor has been installed in the basement, and the basement has been installed as well. And then one thing that I also think is really neat, if you go by, take a look at the War Memorial. Mm-hmm. The statues have all been cleaned, so the bronze really shines now, which is really neat. We even worked to try to get off that green stain off the limestone. We got as much as we can, but the stone is porous, so there's a lot of green stain inside that keeps coming out, so it will not be perfect, but it looks better than it did in the past. So that was really nice that we were able to do that as well to honor the folks that fought in our wars.
Awesome. It's looking good.
It is. We get a lot of questions about that.
Yes.
I'm still amazed how many people think the mayor's office is in the courthouse.
Yeah,
I get that all the time.
It is amazing.
No, we're not there. No, it's...
or they think it's a city project. Right?
Yeah, yes. No, we get that a lot. I've had quite a few emails asking me why I'm wasting money on the courthouse when I could be doing X, Y, or Z. But I think it's important to remember, we hear all the time, they just tear down our old buildings. Well, if you're going to keep our old historic buildings, you have to maintain them. And the courthouse is no exception.
Right.
Mm-hmm. If we're going to keep that historic building there, the county has to maintain it. You have rainwater coming in and everything else. So.
Yeah, Judge Petrie is happy because we have a leak that leaks into his courtroom. And so he has water, which impacts his operations. So by fixing the roof, we'll eliminate that issue for him. So he's happy about that. But yeah, I think we got to recognize we have to maintain our old assets. You have to do preventive maintenance to keep it lasting, or you'll end up having to pay a lot of money in the long run, or unfortunately have to do demolition sometimes, which is not what we want to do.
Yeah, we fought that in City Hall here years ago. When I was a firefighter, we actually had baby swimming pools in the dormitory area of the fire department to catch the rainwater.
Wow.
There were actually these swimming pools every few feet that would catch all the rainwater when it was raining. And you just hoped it didn't rain on the beds.
Yeah.
So you have to maintain these older buildings. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the Nucor Overpass, that is a project that is scheduled. Do you want to talk about what that is and why that is an important project?
Sure. So this is another project that we did an analysis on its need. We studied the intersection at 136 in Nucor. We looked at the accidents. We looked at the flow of traffic. We spoke with Nucor and Temperley about the need to have efficient flow of vehicles and safe flow of vehicles through that area. And so as a result of that, we applied for a state grant. We did receive a state grant of $16 million to build an overpass. So there'll be an overpass on Nucor Road over 136. It's planned for mid 2026. So we're still working on, the design is done, but we have a few more steps through the state that we have to do for permitting. And then we will hopefully put out the bid here in June or July of 2026. The construction cost has increased. We originally thought it'd be about $18 million. Our new estimate is $21 million. Our grant will not increase. That means that we as county government will need to find a way to fund the remaining portion, which would most likely be a bond financed through our tax increment financing district.
Okay.
Which is dependent upon what? Property taxes.
Property
Yes.
taxes.
So there's all these unknowns
course.
as you're trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nucor, which is one of the largest employer in the county, and Temperley and the other businesses down Nucor have said this is important for us. It will also help additional economic development, bring more jobs, more assessed value to our community. So hopefully we can still do this project next year.
And I've said all along, when that project is complete, you're going to see, I don't want to say an explosion, but a lot of development out in that Nucor corridor. But that is the number one obstacle to landing new projects in that area right now, is that piece. So once that's fixed and it's a nice straight shot to the interstate, you're going to see a lot of development happen out there.
Okay. Our Tire Amnesty Day, that was a success.
Yeah, so our health department does a Tire Amnesty Day every year. So this year we had a grant to do it, and it was held on May 3rd, Saturday, in the parking lot of the government center. And they collected over 1,000 tires over 5 hours. So thanks to our health department, and they had probationers there as well helping. But it was good to see our health department and folks coming out and disposing of tires properly. We don't want them to be just laying around. They can get water in there. They can get mosquitoes. It's a health issue. So we're trying to find a way for people to get an easy way to get rid of their tires. So we'll do it again next year. And it was a great event.
Great.
And it did not rain. It was a good weather. So it was
yes. And, going right along with that, Tox Away Day, I know that is a big day in the community. I've had a couple of people ask about it already for this year, wanting to know the date. So do you want to talk about when that is and what it is for somebody who might not know?
Yeah, so Tox Away Day is that opportunity for you to dispose of household chemicals properly so they don't go into the landfill. And you can take paint, you can take household chemicals, they even take electronics. And so this is a great way to, again, keep things out of the landfill, keep things out of the ground. It is scheduled for July 5th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. And it's tentatively going to be at the Crawfordsville High School parking lot. We're still confirming with Crawfordsville High School that we can use their parking lot, but we moved it to there last year. It was a really good success. It was more centrally located than in previous years, which was at North Montgomery High School.
Okay.
So you can stay at home on July 4th.
Yes.
Gather up all your
get all your stuff
and
take it
drop
on
it
the
off
5th.
the
It
next
works
day.
out perfectly.
That's right.
Perfect. Nice productive weekend, right?
It's very much. We get a report, the Waste District, every time they have this on how much was collected. It's kind of mind-boggling to think about how many pounds of this and gallons of that. And it's a lot every year. It's a good deal.
People stock up. Get
Yeah,
ready
well,
for
if you
it.
think about it,
Stock
at
up, they
home, you
pile
just-
up in their garage and
Right,
they
yeah.
you end up with all these things that you're like, how am I going to get rid of this? And there's your chance.
Okay.
And it's a just flawless process. It's really easy when you go there. So check it
well
out.
organized.
Yes.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. Then we'll make sure it goes out on social media to post the confirmed location, and we'll get that shared out. And then we've talked a lot about this too, live streaming of meetings starting in July. The county will be doing the same thing.
Yeah, so like all governments now, the state passed a law requiring all local governments to live stream their meetings starting in July. We've been practicing with our council meetings, and so that's why I mentioned a few times that people can watch the council meetings on YouTube right now. They're kind of our test case for operations, and we're still learning on the proper etiquette of using the microphones and recognizing that you need to speak a certain way because now you're on TV as opposed to just in the room. So, but we do have a YouTube channel as well. So we just encourage people, if they want to now find out what's going on, they can watch the council meetings and starting July, the commissioners meeting, Plan Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, Redevelopment Commission, Drainage Board, the governing board of the Central Communications Center. Any meeting that's in the community meeting room that's a public meeting, has to be live streamed. I may have missed a few.
Yeah.
Lots of meetings.
A lot of meetings. And they're archived too, so people can,
Yeah.
if you can't watch it at the time, you can go back and watch it later.
Yep. Yeah. So I will go ahead and I will put the link to your direct YouTube channel right in the show notes so people can find that easily too.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to add, Tom? Thanks for all the updates so far.
I just I forgot to mention the courthouse project. So our timeline, our goal is to hopefully be done with the exterior by the end of August so the scaffolding can come down. Interior might take a little longer, but our goal is the project will be done this year. But our hope is the exterior can be down before Motocross of Nations happens. We got the big parade going on and everything, and we can have the courthouse look really good for that as well. So that's our goal. So knock on wood, we'll be there.
We've got lots of goals before that October weekend.
Yeah.
Don't we?
Yeah, we need a lot of things out of the way before that weekend.
Yeah, if we could just get NDOT to stay on schedule, right?
Yes, we're hoping.
We had a motocross meeting just here recently, and NDOT reported that they think that'll be done. And everybody in the room just looked at him like, okay. So we hope it is. We hope it is for sure.
We
know they're trying, but
Yeah.
I do understand they're like in the same situation as that we're in. A lot of times you're dealing with contractors and their schedules and the weather and all these variables. But yeah, I can't imagine that being one lane each direction during that weekend.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work. So we'll have to see what happens. But speaking of the courthouse, I do want to say it just looks so much different today than it looked, a decade ago or whatever before the clock tower was put back on and all that. If you get a chance, just Google old pictures of it. It really looks nice now compared to what it looked like several years ago.
I have an old painting that somebody did. I'm trying to think who it was. Maybe an Alice Harpel, somebody of the courthouse without the clock tower.
Yeah.
And it does. It's, such an iconic image for downtown to have that clock tower. What a great effort of the community to come together to find the funding to get that put back up.
And for a while, not only did it not have the clock tower, it had a tornado siren sitting on top of it that looked really hideous. So yeah, looks much better now.
Yes.
We kind of take it for granted, but it wasn't there a few years ago.
Okay. Well, Mayor, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Thanks, Tom, for coming on. Keep us
You're welcome.
up to date
Thanks for
on
having me.
what's going on the county side.
Yeah, great update. And
We're all in the trenches together here.
yeah, good and bad, right?
Well, we're working hard to make this a better community.
Yeah.
I mean, both the city and the county are working hard. And if we sound frustrated, we are a little frustrated right now. And believe me, I'm spending quite a bit of time communicating with legislators right now. Actually, just was on an email with one right before I came in here. So, there are real world implications to these decisions.
Yes.
So.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Don't forget to check out Yodel, our Community Connections calendar and newsfeed. And as always, if you have podcast topics or things you want to hear about, let us know. If you heard something in this episode you want more information on, feel free to reach out and we will get you the information. We thank you for listening and we'll see you next week. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on this podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you aren't already, follow us on Facebook at City of Crawfordsville Official, on Twitter at City of Seaville, and on Instagram at City of Crawfordsville. We hope you have a wonderful day and can't wait for you to join us next week.